Hey everyone. Thanks for coming to the live stream. We will get started right at 2 o'clock, in my time anyway, so about 15 minutes from now. Let's see who is here. Hey Arlie, Secretive, welcome. We have a few announcements today. Before announcements though, check out the prerequisites that I have written up here. This is what you'll want to be aware of. It's better if you know these, but you at least want to be familiar with these concepts before starting today's lesson. Specifically, the most important thing to be aware of is quoting forms. If you do not know how to make quotes, then how to conjugate the form we're going to use today, it's not going to make sense because this form we're using today directly comes from this quoting form, 이라고 하다, which is the ida, to be, verb plus 말하다, to speak. So to call or to say or to tell someone something. Like you can say, for example, someone says, what is it? And you want to say, oh, I said it's an apple. 사과라고 했어요. I said it is an apple. So this is for making quotes. Like you can kind of think of it like floating quotations over whatever it is you put before here when it uses the verb ida. And this is a giant topic with all sorts of different quoting forms. You can quote not just the verb ida, you can quote any verb, descriptive verb, action verbs, any tense. You can also make quotes about quoting commands, quoting questions, all that. But you at least want to be familiar with the standard quoting form for statements, for saying something is, like someone says something is. And you also want to be able to turn verbs into adjectives. So the basic form of that would be changing a descriptive verb into an adjective. For example, you have the descriptive verb 예쁘다, to be pretty. Well, now you can say 예쁜 사람, a pretty person. So you've turned that descriptive verb 예쁘다 into an adjective to describe a noun, person. But you can also make action verbs into adjectives as well. So you can say, for example, 가다, to go. Well, you could also say 가는 사람, a person who goes. So now you're changing 가다, an action verb, into an adjective to describe the noun, a person. So you have a person describing that person. What kind of person are they? They're not a pretty person this time, but they're a person who goes somewhere. Or maybe a person who went, past tense, or will go somewhere. Anything like that. And this is kind of vague, but you want to be familiar with 것. It has a lot of uses. I just want to make sure you've seen it before, that it's not only the word thing in your mind. So that you've seen it because it can be used with nominalization forms. It can be used with making past tense. It's also used with future tense, like 할 거예요, I will do something. That also uses this. You kind of want to be familiar with seeing it in various places. This should not be your first time seeing 것 as anything other than thing. So these are the three prerequisites. I'll keep these up on the board. You do have time to learn these before the class starts. Just want to let you know. Okay, let's see who's here. Hey, Hanmi, Joe Turner, Anselmida. Let's see who else is here who's my members. That is all my members here right now. We'll get some more. Usually people come in after we start the actual class at 2. Let's see what else. Okay. Other announcements. If you are a Patreon member, even the $1 tier, you get access to all of my live stream outlines as well as worksheets. So the worksheet for today's lesson has a lot more examples of what we're covering. We're going to be covering actually several different examples of using this form. And due to time restrictions, I can't go over, 4 examples or 10 examples for each one. I'm only going to be going over, well, some of them do have 4. But typically like 1 or 2 for each, depending what it is. If you want to have more examples, I recommend checking out the worksheet. It has more examples of every form we're doing today. So that's available for everyone on Patreon. And you can get the worksheet right now, actually. And the outline for today's stream with this and everything we're going to be covering today will also be on Patreon right after the live stream is finished. Other announcements. If you are a channel member, of which a few of you in here are, you also get to watch these live streams abridged after the live stream's over. That'll typically be tonight. So usually 4 hours, 5 hours after the live stream is finished, you can go onto my YouTube channel and you can watch this live stream, which hasn't happened yet, abridged down to like 10, 15 minutes. So yeah, that's another thing, bonus. Only members get to watch those early. Everyone else can watch them later in the week. I usually upload them Wednesday. So, okay. Another announcement is make sure to check out our Discord channel. If you haven't, it's open. It's completely free. It's open 24/7 to all Korean learners. And you can go in there, practice with other members. We actually had a lot of new members join recently, just the past, I think, one or 2 days. We had a bunch of new members join. So yeah, it's pretty active. You can hang out with other people learning Korean, ask questions. I'm there answering questions too. Make sure to check it out. I'll put another link in the chat, but you can also see a, let's post that here again. But you can also see a link to the Discord always in this video description. So check that out. Okay. I think that's all the announcements I have for the basic things related to the stream. Other announcement, I've said this last time we did a class, but I'm going to Korea. I'm actually leaving in 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. So this is the last live stream until I get back from Korea. And I'll be back from Korea around Thanksgiving time. So I'll do another live stream the 28th of November. So you can mark that on your calendar. November 28th. I'll put a YouTube vote before though, so you'll know it's happening. But if you want to write it down in advance, it'll be November 28th. And so that'll be the next live class we do. While I'm in Korea, I'll try to see if I can do a regular live stream, not a class, but just a live Q&A while I'm there. But I'm not sure when or where that will be because it depends on where I'm going to be. It depends on how my schedule is, the weather. You know, it could be really cold. I might not want to go outside if it's really cold. We'll see. But I'll try to do something while I'm over there. Just letting you know. It won't be a classroom like this. Other announcements are, oh yeah, if you're ever curious about my live streams, like when's the next one? When did you do them? What are the topics you've covered? You know, where can I download all of the worksheets and the outlines? It's all in that link I just posted in chat. Everything's there. Everything. Links to the full videos, abridged videos, outlines, worksheets, topics covered, titles, dates for every single live stream I've ever done. It's all there. So check that out, as well as the future live streams coming up. I also schedule them in advance there. So if you're ever wondering, is Billy doing a live stream? Well, it's right there. Okay. I think that is all the basic announcements. So yeah, going to Korea. Next live stream's the November 28th. Oh yeah. This week is your last week to get your name in Korean Made Simple workbooks, expanded workbooks 2 and 3. So they're actually both coming out at the same time. I already have one. You can already get one for, I think, like a couple years it's been out. I can't even remember when I put out the first one. It's been a while. But everyone's been asking me for a second and third workbook. So yes, these are going to be coming out. I want to say next week. If everything goes well, cross my fingers, knock on IKEA pressed wood. Next week, maybe Wednesday, they'll both be released. So you can get them starting from next week. Actually, if you're wondering what all this stuff is, this is the editing that I'm doing, because after I do editing on the computer, of course, I check it very diligently. But as soon as you print something, you'll notice things that you couldn't see on the computer that come out, that like just pop out. You're like, wow, this is wrong. Or, you know, I have this typo right here. I can't believe I forgot to put a space in this sentence, you know, stuff like that. So I went through, I made a lot of fixes. It's not completely done, but it's mostly done now. So I just need to do another test, and then hopefully next week I can get these out. But the announcement is, if you want your name in both of these workbooks, yes, both of them, not one of them, not the other one, but both of them, make sure to fill out the survey. If you are a Patreon member, you already know what I'm talking about. I sent out a link, and you can click on it, you put your name, and that's it. And your name goes in the book. If you are a YouTube channel member, check my community tab. You should be able, just scroll down a little bit, you'll see it. It's a big post. And you can also put your name too. So all Patreon supporters and all YouTube members get to put their name in the special thanks section of both of these books. Basically, they'll both be the exact same thing. If you're in workbook 2, you'll be in workbook 3. And you're never going to get kicked out of that book. You're always going to be in the book. So don't worry about that. If you join my Patreon and then next month, you know, your finances change and you're like, oh, I can't keep supporting Billy, I feel bad, I'm not going to go in and like reprint the book and delete your name from it. It's in there. If you get it in there now, it'll be in there forever. 1,000 years in the future, 100,000 years in the future, archaeologists will dig up this book. They'll be like, oh, there was this interesting culture where people were learning this language called Korean, and your names will be in there. I promise you, I'm never removing them. So yeah, but this is your last week to get it done. I'm closing that survey this weekend on, I think Saturday is the last day. Let me check. Yes. Yeah, this Saturday, I'm going to be, so 6 days from now, I'm going to be closing that survey completely. I'm going to just check really quick to make sure everyone who put their name is an actual Patreon member or YouTube supporter. That way, you know, someone does, I don't know, is anyone going to like send this to their friend and say like, here, put your name? It's not going to work. I'm going to check all of them to make sure you're actually in there. But once we've done that, everyone's name who's in there is going to get a permanent spot in both workbooks 2 and 3. Okay. That is all the announcements I have to make for today. So let's recap again. Members get the abridged bridge videos early. You can get all the worksheets and outlines on Patreon. I'm going to Korea after 2 weeks. I'll be there until I get back. The next class will be November 28th. There are 2 new workbooks releasing, hopefully next week. Maybe next week, Wednesday, if everything goes well. And if you want to get your name in the book for the special thanks section, do the survey, which you can find on Patreon or in my YouTube member community tab. Okay, now let's check this out. Small says, you're going to Korea. I know, but you see, the way I see it is, I normally go to Korea for 3 months every year. So, I mean, I could go longer. It's just, you know, I don't want to be gone too long. I like coming back so I can do editing and I do different type of work in Korea than in the US. But anyway, but it's always like such a big deal. I have to prepare so much for it. You know, everything's got to be perfect because it's my only chance for the entire year. I got to make sure I can meet everyone. But, you know, if they're busy, what if they're busy during summer? I can't meet them. It's just a lot of stress. So I figure, you know, let's take away that stress of only going once a year for a really big trip, and instead let's do a big trip every year like usual, 2-3 months, but let's add in a small trip, you know, maybe 1 month or 3 weeks, something short like that, just so that way it's not a huge deal if I can't do everything during the first trip. So I want to be able to go to Korea more frequently than usual. So I'm thinking every year of doing 2 or maybe 3 trips. And combined total, it'll be about 4 to 5 months every year, which is what I'd like to do, to be in Korea like closer to almost half of a year instead of just 2-3 months every year. So yeah, that's my goal. Anyway, so I'll be there for all of next month, pretty much. Let's see, who else is here? Manariba. From Japan, you're the best coach. Thank you for everything. It's 5. I don't know what you're doing awake at 5:55 in the morning. Oh, here. Issei Collegia says it's 4:55 in the Philippines. What are you doing awake at 4:55? Did you not sleep or did you wake up early? That's like it's a very vague time. I'm not sure if that would be normally when people wake up or when people are like not sleeping yet. Norway with military time. All right, 22:58. It's more reasonable. Don't forget to hit the like button. Oh yeah, I never say that in my do I? I sometimes say it in my videos. I'll say like, make sure to like this video and click subscribe. I think I say it in some of my videos. I don't think I've ever said it on my live stream before. Why not? Like the video. Subscribe if you haven't. I know a lot of people though just watch and don't subscribe. I'm fine with that too. I'm happy you're here. Okay. So let's get started with our lesson. Oh wait, almost time. Almost 2 o'clock. I don't want to start early in case someone has their timer set for 2. They're still coming in here. Hi from Colombia. Nice. 안녕하세요, 빌리씨. Thank you so much for this live stream. We appreciate all you do. Thank you, me. Reveil, or I can't read your name. I'm in Seoul as an international student now. Your videos have helped a lot with my studying. Great. Glad to hear I can be helpful. Hello from Greece. Greece. You have really good food, you know. Really good food in Greece. I've never been there. I just know like lots of Greek food is really good. I once went to like a Greek Greek buffet, and everything there was good. I swear, like the best thing about like traveling, if you ever like travel or like that, is like so much other food that's out there. Ivanova, for the books, does this mean Amazon printed copies, worldwide release? Yes, I'm talking about full release next week. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully if everything goes well, Wednesday, but I can't promise that. The ebook though should be released by Wednesday next week, but the print book, it sometimes could take longer. It depends on how long it takes to get approved and start selling, but hopefully also next week as well. So yeah, everything next week. All right, let's get started. Oh yeah, I have to erase this first. I don't think I should use these neon markers anymore. They're really hard to erase, like the blue and the green. I'll get rid of those. Let's just throw them over here so I don't accidentally use them again. Okay, I have the markers I use when I film the Korean FAQ videos. They work great on the acrylic glass that I have, but they kind of stick really well to this sort of material. So yeah, I'm not going to be using them again on here. Okay. You're in for a treat today. We have a big lesson. Oops. The topic we're learning about today is strongly in the intermediate level, because in order to understand it, you actually need an advanced level understanding of grammar. To use it, however, you're probably okay with just a regular beginning level. So because of that, to understand it, it's more advanced. To use it, it's more beginner. Because of that, I'm going to say this grammar form is somewhere in the intermediate level. I hope you just kind of keep that in mind when I tell you what the form we're going to be doing is. Okay, just keep that in mind. The form we're going to be using requires at least two nouns. Let's call them noun A and noun B. So you take a noun and you attach 이라는, and then you attach the other noun. So you have noun, 이라는, noun. Now this E is only added if noun ends with a consonant. So that's pretty much all you have to do. If you have 집, ends in a consonant, 이라는. If you have 학교, you just get 라는. Easy. Okay. Now you can put this form together. So what does it mean? It's a good question. Keep dropping these markers. This form originally comes from a quoting form. And this might not be surprising to you. Don't worry, we'll get into more detail than this. In case you're listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, I know it comes from a quoting form, blah, blah, blah. No, don't worry. We'll get into more detail. I'm already thinking of you. I know what you're thinking. Originally, this comes from a grammar form that is a quoting form. Which is 이라고 말하는. Now, I wrote 말하는. It's actually never said. It's just 하는, but that's what it would be. This is the straightforward quoting form when you're just quoting something directly. You're not quoting a question or a command. You're just saying something with the verb 이다, to be. So you're saying that something, noun, is. And then the 는 at the end here changes this into an adjective, which means it can now it can describe another noun, which is going to be our noun B. So we have noun A up here and noun B. So this form, 이라는, is actually the same thing as saying 일하고 하는. How does that work? Well, 일하는, 일하고 하는. That's it. It's just a compressed form, and literally you can switch them. If you say 일하고 하는, it has the same meaning as 일하는. But you're not going to see that. But it could. It has the actual same meaning. It doesn't have a different meaning when it gets shortened. But it's so commonly used that you're not going to see this full form used. Okay, so literally, if we go into this, what does this mean then? So this is a quoting form. Well, let me just check the chat for a second. Okay. So then what does this mean? Now that I've broken it down and you see, wow, my mind's been open, but what does it mean? Okay. This means a noun, as in noun B, a noun that said something is noun A. Okay, well, that doesn't really make any sense literally. Let's look at it a little bit less literally. A noun, what's another word for saying or telling? What about calling? Calling, okay, calling. A noun that is called or calls A, noun A. So noun B that is called noun A. Literally, yes. Noun B is calling something. And what are they saying it is? What are they saying noun B is? Well, it's noun A. So if you want to know about it, literally, that's what it means. But an easy way to understand it is to just think of it as something that is called this. Or what's another word for called? You could also think of it as like titled, maybe, or named if it's a person, right? Any sort of speaking, any sort of where you say something is a certain way. So speaking, saying, telling, calling, naming, titling, any of those can apply. And a lot of times you'll have to pick which one of those in English you want to use because it can translate all of those ways. The most common, though, I'd say are called, named, and titled. So if you just write those down, I can't talk. Just get those three down and you'll be good. Now, called, named, titled. Okay, so let me give you an example of what this is. So I've now explained the basics of it, but it's not clicking, right? It's not clicking. Let me give you another example. Don't worry, when you see sentences, when I show you sentences, this form will make sense right away. But if you don't catch the literal meaning of it, if you don't catch how it's actually used, you're going to miss when I show you other uses for this form that are not going to be in your standard lesson about iranen, okay? That's why I'm breaking it down. I'm not doing it for fun. I mean, it's fun for me. I'm not telling you this for fun. I'm telling you this to help you understand when we see this used in another way that doesn't seem to fit this meaning, okay? Trust me, I have a reason for explaining it to you this way. I think about this a lot. I spent all Thursday planning this lesson. Like I do every lesson, I spend all Thursday planning it. You probably have seen a sentence like this before. 저는 빌리라고 해요. This is a general way you can introduce yourself. Now, you probably are not going to say 저는 빌리라고 해요 unless your name is Billy. But just for example. So literally, this is the 이라고 form, right? 이라고 하다. So to say something, 이다, something is. So as for me, I say I am, 이다, I am Billy. So as for me, I say I am Billy. But that's a literal translation that doesn't sound good. And that's not what Koreans would feel if you said that. They would feel it's like, I call myself, say myself, I call myself Billy. Very natural, right? My name's Billy. I call myself Billy, if you want to think of it like that. So, you could also say, 저는 빌리라고요. Now, it would have to be clear already that you're talking about your name, but you can also shorten this 라고 해요 form in the same way, just like we did with 이라고 하는. You can also get rid of the 고, the 하, and you're left with 저는 빌리라고요. Anyway, I just want to show you one more use of it. We're not done. So another thing is now we have iranen, but there's another common way that this form can shorten. So we have noun A, noun B. Oh, did I get it? Wow. Wow, Amanda. Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. Do you want 50 dabs? We do 50 dabs for Amanda? That's so kind of you. Oh, amazing. $50 donation. I'm gonna take a drink for that. This is a pomegranate, I think. Caffeine drink. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. Oh, wait, the board's broken again. Let me turn that off. Okay. I'm just like doing this. It's like the laziest stabbing ever. Oh, thank you. All the dabs. Much appreciated. Thank you, Amanda, who was our first donor today. First supporter. Okay. So, you can also shorten this form even more. So instead of just 일하는, well, Koreans like to shorten things. You can have 일한. A 일한 B. So that's all it is. It's the shortened version of 일하는, which is the shortened version of 일하고 하는, which is the shortened version of 일하고 말을 하는, which is the shortened, no, I'm just kidding. It doesn't really go further than that. It's all just shortening all the way down. It's shortening all the way down. This is fairly common. If you're making your own sentences, though, I recommend not using this, just to keep in your mind where this form comes from. Gotta remember your roots. Remember where you come from. I recommend using this until you really have a hang of how it's used, and not using 일한 yet. But know that if you see it, it has the exact same meaning. There is no difference in meaning. It's not a different tense. It's not a different form. It's not casual. It's not slangy. It's just another version of the same form. 일하는, 일한. Okay. I haven't recovered from the dabs yet. Oh yeah, someone says I'm gonna get dizzy. Yeah, I felt a little dizzy. So because I'm like doing like this for like 10 seconds straight. Okay, so let's do our first example. This will be very short. 김치, 나는, 음식. Okay, everyone should know these two words already. 김치 and 음식. 김치 meaning kimchi. 음식 meaning 음식. No, I'm just kidding. 음식 meaning food. So, let's look at this then. 일하는, so 일하고 하는. So, food that is called, that is titled, that is named kimchi. Food called kimchi. So, a food that is called kimchi. This isn't a sentence, it's just a fragment, just to show you. So how could you use this in a sentence? When would you ever want to say a food called kimchi? Never. But you would put this in a sentence. You wouldn't just walk up and knock on someone's door. They answer, 김치라는 음식. They'd be like, okay. You could ask someone though, do you know a food called kimchi? Do you know about the food called kimchi? Have you tried this food called kimchi before? Right? Okay, think about that for a second. I want you to think about that for yourself for a second, because there's a very important usage of this form. When is it used? There's a very important usage of this form that comes along with how this form is used, with where this form comes from. Can you think about when in the world would you ever tell someone or ask someone about something using this form? When would you ever ask someone, 김치라는 음식을 먹어봤어요? Have you ever tried a food called kimchi? What situation would you ever do that? Why don't you just say, have you ever tried kimchi before? Why wouldn't you just say, do you know kimchi? Why would you ever want to say, 김치라는 음식을 아세요? 들어본 적 있어요? 먹어본 적 있어요? Why would you ever say that over just saying, 김치를 먹어봤어요? 김치를 알아요? Why would you say one over the other? Think about it. Let me know in chat. There is a reason. There is a situation when you need to, or you at least really will want to, use this sort of construction over simply just saying the word by itself. And I'll give you a hint in case you don't have it yet. It's the same thing. It's the same reason we would do that in English. A food called kimchi sounds like a band name. Yes, a food called kimchi. Looking for it. AJ said looking for it at the supermarket. This is in Korea though. If you're in English, I'm from the country English. If you're in Korea and you say 김치라는 음식, you wouldn't do that at a supermarket. The worker would be like, a food called kimchi? You mean kimchi? If you're not in Korea, sure, maybe. But get down to it a little deeper. Why would you want to do that? So people know that kimchi is a food. Okay, you're kind of on it. That could be an acceptable answer. I just want to see what other people say. If you're going to take a friend to eat new food, okay, you're kind of on it as well. I'm trying to see if someone can get the exact answer I'm thinking of, but I can see some people are kind of on the edge of it. Okay, Pikachu, and that is you, my cutie, a boo-boo. If someone is not familiar with what it is, you would use this form to elaborate. Pikachu, you have hit the nail on the head. Let's see what else. Hanguk maybe speaking to a foreigner that's not familiar with Korean food. Yes, that's same answer. Yes. If I don't know how a thing is called in Korean and Korean people would want to explain it, okay, yes. When you're talking with a foreigner, it could be that, yeah. So people know kimchi is the name of a food, yes. When you explain something to someone and get to know it, yes. It is used. This form is used. So when would you use it? This form is used when you are trying to explain something or clarify something that you think the listener might not know about. You're not going to say, hey, have you seen that little underrated gem movie? No one knows about it, but it's kind of an indie movie known as Star Wars? You're never going to say that. You would just say, do you know Star Wars? Did you see Star Wars, right? But you could say something like, hey, did you know that, have you ever seen that movie called American Graffiti? Right? You know, most people wouldn't know George Lucas's other earlier movies, right? That could be an example when you'd use it. You would never say something like 김치라는 음식 unless you thought the listener doesn't know what it is. I would just say kimchi. But if we were to replace this, let's say there's a food called puek. There's not, but you don't know it. So I could say, 혹시 puek이라는 음식 아세요? Do you know the food puek? Then it sounds more natural than just saying puek 아세요? Because they're going to be like, what is puek? What is that? But you've said it's a food. So like, hey, there's this food and it's called puek. Do you know that? That is when you use this form, is when you are trying to explain or maybe clarify something to the listener when you think they don't already know what it is. The same thing goes in Korean. So you're not just going to stick this form. The reason I'm telling you this is because I don't want you to just stick this form onto every time you're trying to say something like, oh, I need to put the noun here. It's a movie, so I need to put movie. It's a show, I need to put show. It's a food. Oh, it's a dining room set. It's a Lego character. Like, you don't need to do that if the person you're talking to already knows what you're talking about. If you're going to a club of movie watchers. They love movies. You're not going to be, hey, have you seen that movie called Harry Potter? Like, you just say, have you seen Harry Potter, right? It's for when you think the other listener might not know. Now, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to know that they don't know, right? Just like in English. You could say, hey, have you seen that, have you ever tried that food called kimchi? You can say that, even if you think they might know it, but you want to make sure that they know it, right? You think there's maybe a possibility they don't know what I'm talking about. They've never had kimchi before, maybe. Like, for example, if I'm going to go talk with my Korean friends, and they're like, what kind of music do you listen to? It's already established we're talking about music. I'm not going to say, oh, my favorite is this little band called the Beatles. You don't need to say that. Just say, oh, my favorite is the Beatles, or my favorite is Michael Jackson. You don't have to say a singer who's known as, well, you probably haven't heard of him, Michael Jackson. You don't have to say that, right? But let's say you go to a small country in the middle of nowhere, and they say, what kind of music do you like? And you're like, oh, my favorite musician is Michael Jackson. They might not know. I mean, they probably still know, but they might not know, right? So you think they might not know, so let me clarify it for them. Let me explain. There's this singer. He's known as Michael Jackson, right? You kind of give this background information. So that's when you use this form. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Okay, so yes, keep that in mind. So we can compare it with... Take these two sentences, for example. 김치가 맛있어요. Kimchi tastes good. Versus 김치라는 음식이 맛있어요. So just kind of think of that in your mind right now. Think about what could be the difference in, after everything I've said, kind of think about what the feeling would be for each of those sentences. Oh, 김치가 맛있어요. Kimchi is good. 김치라는 음식이 맛있어요. Man, this kimchi food this food called kimchi here is really good. So the second one sounds like maybe you've never even tried it before, right? You're like, oh, 김치라는 음식이 맛있어요. Oh, man, that food called kimchi, it's really good, that kimchi food. Like, it's not wrong, it's fine, but it implies that someone doesn't know about it, that you're kind of clarifying it. Like, you don't even know what it is. Man, this stuff here, whatever it is, this strange marker, this expo food. Oh, it tastes really good. Like, you're assuming someone doesn't know about it. Okay. One more thing. Since I said this form comes from the quoting form, it might help you if you imagine floating quotation marks around whatever it is that you're calling something. Because it's a quoting form, right? We just said, I just explained how this form has noun A, 이라는, noun B. So it's a noun B that is called noun A. So if I say, my name's Billy. Okay, my name's Billy. A food called kimchi, right? A food called kimchi with quotation marks. Okay? Kind of imagine in your mind, if it helps you, that there are quotation marks around whatever item that you're using with the 이라는 form. Whatever comes before the 이라는 form gets quotes. So it's not just a food called kimchi. You can also think of it like this. Just kimchi. Have you ever tried kimchi before? Because this has a lot of the same feeling, the nuance to it, that the Korean grammar form does as well. When you're saying something with quotes, you're quoting it. You're kind of, there's a lot of things we do with that in English. Sometimes we use it for sarcasm, right? You know, wow, that was amazing. You should join you should do that professionally. You know, you could do lots of sarcasm with quotation marks, but you can also do quotation marks with things that you want to say, maybe you don't know about. You're just kind of putting it off to the side. Like, yeah, there's that movie. Well, I'm trying to think of a really bad movie. Geely. Was it Jiggly or Jiggly? I don't even know what it's a terrible movie. You can, Manos. Okay, let's put Manos, a really terrible movie. You can put things in quotes in your minds. If that kind of helps you to understand. Like when you put it in quotes, you're kind of like setting it off to the side and saying, hey, look at this. I'm putting it in quotes because you might not know what it is. I'm not assuming that you know what it is. I'm not saying, do you know about the food? Blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm not just saying, do you know about with a long string of characters that you've never known. But once I put it in quotes, you suddenly think, oh, it must be a thing they're quoting. Maybe it's a city name, right? There could be lots of like, what is it, Norwegian or Swedish, I don't know, one of those town names that just go on for a mile. You kind of get what I'm talking about, right? You put something in quotes and the reader or the listener suddenly knows, oh, this is something. Even if I don't know it, this is something. Like, I visited the town, right? If you just write it, they might think you had a stroke while typing. But if you put it in quotes, they're like, oh, that's an interesting town name. So this clarification, doing this form, helps the listener or the reader understand that you're actually talking about something specific. You're actually talking about, like, hey, this thing is a bee. It's that noun here. And I'm putting in quotes like it's a thing. Just don't worry, maybe I'm going to clarify it. I'll explain it to you, but for right now, just understand it is a be noun. Okay, I hope I made this clear now. But we're not done. There's still a lot more to talk about for this form. I wish that were all we had to talk about, and I can give you a bunch of sentences now, but... Okay. So, now that I've used all of 25 minutes to explain it, let's go into our first example sentence. Actually, I can just do talk. So let's look at this sentence. Here's a really common, natural sounding usage of this grammar form. 오징어 game. I don't have to tell you what that is, or maybe I do. 오징어 game. Squid game. 오징어 game이라는 드라마. So let's just look at this part. Oh, is that a real place in Wales? Well, is that a real place in Wales? I don't even know if that's real. I visited the town. Yeah, that would be perfect. That would work too. Because the feeling is that you're assuming the reader might not know what it is and you want to mark it like, hey, this is a real thing. And then in this case with Korean, you also go and define what that kind of thing is. But even without saying it's a city, just putting it in quotes lets you know it shouldn't just be read as is, that they should understand this is something, keep in mind this might be something special, kind of like that. So, 오징어 game이라는 드라마. So here's our noun B, drama, and here's our noun A, 오징어 game. So Squid Game이라는 드라마. So a drama that is said, that is called, or that is titled, or that is named. Could be any of those. In this case, that is titled, or I think named would work well, or maybe called. Drama that's called. Yeah, I think called would work. A called would work well for this sentence. So a drama that is called 오징어 game. So a drama called 오징어 game, Squid Game, 들어본 적 있어요? Have you ever heard of the drama Squid Game? Have you ever heard of the drama Squid Game? I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. But this would be a legitimate question, even in Korea. Actually, if you were to ask this to a Korean, it might sound a little bit awkward because, of course, Koreans are going to know that 오징어 game is a drama because right now I think it's still the #1 show on all of Netflix. But to a non-Korean person, this is completely legitimate because even if you're studying Korean, you might not know about the game, right? You might not watch, the game, I hope it's not a real game. You might not watch the drama, right? You might not know about that type of thing. So this would be a fine thing to ask. Hey, do you know about this drama? It's called Squid Game. Okay. So, have you heard about the drama called Squid Game? Or have you heard about the drama Squid Game? To keep it brief. 오징어 게임이라는 드라마를 들어본 적 있어요? Okay. Next sentence. Don't worry, the difficulty level will go up a little bit. Oh, actually, let's write a little bigger. 아까 철수라는 사람한테서 전화가 왔어요. 아까, a little bit ago, a little while ago. 철수라는 사람. So a person called 철수? Yeah, a person named 철수 would be good for here. I think a person named 철수 would work. 한테서, from a person named 철수, a little while ago, 전화가 왔어요. So I got a phone call a little while ago from a person named 철수. Someone named 철수 called a little while ago. 아까 철수라는 사람한테서 전화가 왔어요. Okay, that's all for this sentence. Let's go on to another sentence. I don't want to bore you with just lots of examples because it really all works the same way. If you can do it in one sentence, you can do it in every sentence. For this form, we're not done though. Let's do an example sentence for something that you can use in your Korean studies. Oops, let's do not learn, let's say learn about. This is something you can use every day in your Korean studies to your pen pals or your tutors or your friends. 오늘은 인사라는 단어에 대해 배웠어요. 오늘은 인사라는 단어에 대해 배웠어요. 오늘, today. So today, 인사. 인사 is it's not a new word. It's kind of a slang word that means, it's short for insider, and it means someone who has lots of friends who's kind of popular. So like, a cool kid, kind of like that. 인사라는 단어, the vocabulary word called 인사. 에 대해, about, 배우다, to learn. So I learned today about the vocabulary word called 인사. So today I learned about the vocabulary word 인사. 오늘은 인사라는 단어에 대해 배웠어요. 오늘은 인사라는 단어에 대해 배웠어요. So you can use this with vocabulary words. So if someone says, do you have any Korean questions? And you say, yeah, I'm wondering, do you know what this vocabulary word kimchi means? So that's how you define something. That's how you say, you don't just say kimchi 단어, kimchi vocabulary word. No, the vocabulary word kimchi. The vocabulary word for kimchi is what we'd say in English, but literally more like the vocabulary word that is called or that is said kimchi, like that. So here it's 인사라는 단어. Okay. Now we can do even more with it. It's like I'm trying to show you it's not just like TV shows or movies and people, that it's other words too. So let's do one more that you can use in your language studies. I need to change this marker. 그건, oops. 프랑스어로 사랑. Does anyone know the French word for 사랑? The French word for love. Oops. So here is another sentence, another structure that you can use for practicing Korean. So you want to say what something means. 뜻. 뜻 means meaning. 사랑이라는 뜻. So the meaning of that is called love. The meaning that is called love. The translation is a bit iffy here. Sounds a bit confusing, but let's look at the whole sentence. 그건, so that thing, that, whatever that is, 프랑스어로, so in French, 프랑스어로, en français, sorry, 사랑이라는 뜻이에요. So in the English, we can translate this sentence as, that means, or literally that is the meaning of, so that has the meaning of, love in French. 사랑이라는 뜻. So the meaning that is called 사랑. If you think about this form, again, this is why I wanted to teach you that it came from a quotation form. If you think about this form, though, as only meaning called or titled or named or said. It's going to be confusing when you see it in certain usages like this. So that's why I think it's good to keep in mind quotes, that tip I gave you. 그건 프랑스어로 사랑이란 뜻이에요. So in French, that means love. Isn't that a lot easier to understand than trying to have to translate it as called or named or titled or said? Because if you translate it like this, that is a meaning, or that is the meaning of called love. That is the meaning called love. It doesn't really hold up so well when you're trying to understand something as a beginner. You know, if you've already seen this form used a lot, that's probably good enough. But if you're seeing this sort of form and analyzing it for the first time, I think the quotes will really help you. So keep that in mind. That is the meaning of 사랑 in French. 그건 프랑스어로 amour이라는 뜻이에요. I'm just praying there's nobody from France in the chat right now. Je suis très désolé, trop désolé. 그건 프랑스어로 사랑이란 뜻이에요. Or, again, you might see 사랑이란 뜻이에요. Same thing. 사랑이라고 하는 뜻이에요. Okay, don't do it, but it makes sense. Okay. That is all you need to know about 이라는. But we are not done yet. But wait, there's more, as the late Billy Mays would say. Bel accent. Oh no, we had two French people. Les deux francophones. Oh no. Okay, so it's okay. They're accepting of me. Tu parles français aussi? Mais oui, bien sûr. Mais seulement comme ça. That's the limit of my French. Okay, we're not done. There is another place you can see 이라는 used that's extremely common. But I hope it's okay. I hope you can accept this meaning too. Okay. Now, this doesn't seem any different than what we just did, because 것 means thing. 것 is a noun. So here we have noun A, noun B, right? So it should be the exact same thing. B, a thing that is called a noun, or B that is named or titled, or maybe just a noun, 것, a noun thing, right? Yeah, literally, yes. And there are many cases when you can use this literally. Let me show you an example, because yes, it can mean that too. So let me give you one example. That voice crack. I'm going through puberty. It's kind of a late bloomer. Okay. Okay, here's an example. Like I said, this is a literal example. This works the same way we just did. UK. Has anyone tried UK before? It's diced raw, and beef that's served cold. So if you're wondering, is it safe to eat? Probably yes, unless you have a very weak, what's the word? Stomach, I'll just say that. If it's a very weak stomach, it should be safe to eat, just like, a raw egg or sushi, that sort of thing. Anyway, UK is really good. If you like beef, you'll like UK. And usually it's served with sesame oil, sesame seeds, a raw egg on top. Okay, anyway, it's called UK. So that's off the lesson completely. UK라는 것. So a thing that is called UK. So a UK thing. I'm not saying it's food here. I'm just saying it's a thing called UK. 처음으로, so for my first time, 처음 is first time. So for my first time, 처음으로 먹어봤어요. So I tried eating for my first time this thing called 육회. So I tried 육회 for my first time. You can translate it just like that. I tried 육회 for my first time. You don't have to say a thing called 육회 necessarily, as long as you understand it's kind of explaining or clarifying something to the listener. So I tried this thing called 육회 for my first time. It's very good. Okay, that's a literal example. So let me show you, that's not it though. We're not done with it. Because I like to start out small and give you the basic ingredients, and then we play with them, right? And then we stretch it into something new. So we're going to do that right now. This is another way you're going to see this form used commonly that kind of defies what you've been thinking of. But it's still the same thing. I promise you, it's still the same thing. And I'll show you how it is. But it might not be intuitive. Okay, this sentence, 건. This is just 것은, if you're wondering. 것은. 행복, happiness. 행복이라는 건 사람마다 기준이 달라요. 사람마다. 마다 is a suffix that means each. So each person, 기준이 달라요. So standards. The standards are different for each person. So everyone's standards are different. But what is this part? How do we translate this? 행복이라는 건. So this thing called happiness. When it comes to this thing called happiness, each person's standards are different. So everyone's standards are different when it comes to happiness. Something like that. Now, if you look at this sentence literally, the way we've done it up to this point, since I've broken it down for you, this should kind of make sense. This thing called happiness. Happiness. Standards are different, or each person has different standards, right? Everyone's standards are different for happiness. Why don't I just say 행복은? Think about this for a second. Write in the chat. Why do you think I don't just say 행복은? 사람마다 기준이 달라요. So I could say that. 행복은 사람마다 기준이 달라요. You could say that. Different nuance. And I'm not assuming, even though I'm using this form, I don't assume the listener doesn't know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, obviously, there's no one in the world, well, who speaks Korean, who wouldn't know what 행복 is. So why is there even a need to do this? Why? That's how this sentence could trip up some people. Even though literally it still makes sense, you can understand it. But why would you yourself want to produce this sentence? Think about that. Tell me in the chat, because this is a little different. So-called. Nope, it's not so-called. Not so-called, because so-called is kind of like you're doubting it. Like, that's what they say. I don't know I don't know how I feel about that, but that's what it's called. That's a little different. Sounds like a quote from a book. You want to speak generally about happiness. Yes, you are correct, Anselmida. We'll get into that. That's the reason though. It's an abstract concept. Yep, you kind of hitting it right around the side. That's kind of correct. Yes. Adds emphasis? No, doesn't add any emphasis. Never talked about that. M. Elena de Mateo. Yep. 幸せっていうのは something like that, I think is what they would say. I can't remember though. I did Japanese before I did Korean, so that would have been, when was that? 16 years ago. Yeah, over 16 years ago. The concept of happiness. Okay, yeah. So I just want you to know first that if you ever get stuck, keep in mind the original definition I gave you and the quote tip I told you, and you'll be fine for understanding it. But that's not good enough, is it? It's not good enough to just understand what a Korean is saying. You want to speak like a Korean. You want to know, how can I talk just like that? When would I use this? Because if I'm producing a sentence in my head and I just want to say, happiness is different for everyone, first thing I'm going to think of is happiness. Okay, 행복. Okay, so now happiness is, so I'm going to start with 행복은. Okay, 행복은. And they're already wrong. I mean, it's not wrong, it's okay, but you already lost that nuance. And in this case, you don't think the listener doesn't know what happiness is, obviously. You're not trying to clarify that happiness is a thing. They know happiness is a thing. You don't need to say it. It's not like with our UK example where they didn't even know what that is, or with our drama example where you think they don't even know what Squid Game is, right? In this case, they definitely know what it is. No, there is another usage of 이라는 것 that is used when you are trying to define something. Now wait, I already said this. I already said that this 이라는 form is used, or one of the ways it's used, is to define or to describe or clarify something. But I said the reason you would want to do that is because you think the listener doesn't know about it, right? But it doesn't actually have to be that way. It doesn't actually have to be for that purpose. Because even though I can say, have you ever seen the drama called Squid Game before? Like, why would I do that? Well, the most logical reason is because I think the listener doesn't know what Squid Game is, right? But there's no requirement for that. The form in itself, the core part of this form, what it does is simply acts as a way to add description to something. It works by describing something, by clarifying something to someone else. And that doesn't have to be something that you think they don't know. All it is saying, hey, I'm going to be clarifying this thing for you right now. Why would you do that? Well, most of the time it's because you think the listener doesn't know. But with an abstract concept, it doesn't mean you think they don't know. It simply is, I'm just going to describe it. Hey, this is going to be my interpretation. I'm going to clarify this abstract concept for you. I know you know it, but I'm going to clarify it for you anyway. This is my opinion on it. This is what you use when you want to define something, either physically or conceptually. So in this sentence, since 행복 is a concept, it's not an object. You can't buy happiness. Okay, anyway, you get what I'm talking about. If it's a physical thing, then you're probably going to be clarifying it or defining it or describing it because you think they don't know it. It's right here. With a non-physical thing, so something that's, conceptual like this, something that's metaphorical or conceptual, it's not because you think they don't know it. It's simply because you want to define it yourself. You want to clarify it yourself. So here, 행복이라는 건, as soon as you say this part of the sentence, the listener knows, oh, here it comes. They're clarifying it. They're going to give their description of it. They're going to talk about it. They're going to describe it. That's the nuance that immediately hits every native speaker listening to this, as well as me or anyone else who's learned this concept. Versus 행복은, happiness is this. Okay. It doesn't sound like you're trying to give a clarification on the concept. It simply says you're saying something is something. In fact, it quite sounds boring when you're talking about a non-physical object. Happiness, sadness, love, right? Unity, peace, anything like that, success. Any of those concepts that you can't actually touch, any of those concepts, if you want to describe them to other people, you're going to typically start by saying, hey, I'm going to clarify this thing. Now, I know you know it, but I want to clarify. This is my opinion of it. I'm going to describe it like this. You don't just say, 사랑은 아름다워요. Love is beautiful. You could say that, but you might want to say, 사랑이라는 건, love is beautiful. You kind of want to clarify to them like, hey, I'm going to put my spin on it. And then they're like, that's your spin? That's it? You didn't have to call us in for a meeting. Okay. So, we're not done. I just wanted to show you one more usage is with some sort of like conceptual objects, conceptual concepts. So yeah, happiness, love, anything like that. Use this form when you're going to describe them. Sounds a lot better. But There's another usage for this. There's a completely separate translation for this form that I haven't even talked about. I've talked about how it can translate as called or titled or named or said, or you can just translate it as quotes, right? There's another meaning. There's another way you can translate this form. And I'm just gonna write this sentence down. I want you to translate this sentence the best you can with what we've already got. I'm gonna give you just a minute. Okay, I have to clarify. 이란 건 is... Oh wait, I wrote this. I was like, wait, I wrote this wrong. 이란 건. Okay, 이란 건 is 이라는 것은. Clarifying that. Now, this can actually translate using what we've already talked about, but it might not be apparent. Might not be very intuitive. So I want you to try to translate this sentence. I'm just going to give you 1 minute. Not a long time, just 1 minute to try to translate this while I look at the chat. Could you use this for 눈치? 눈치 is not a nuanced concept in Korean. You could say, hey, I'm going to define this because I feel it's nuanced. But 눈치 is a regular word in Korean. It's just situational awareness. It's despite what some Instagram bloggers may have told you, I don't know, I'm just saying this. I don't know anyone in particular. Despite what you may have read on various websites or whatever, 눈치 is not a difficult to translate word. It's not one of those words that's hard to translate. If you try to take the word by itself and translate it, well, you need some context. But put it in a sentence and you could translate it really easily because we have the same things in English as all of those words. Yeah, I'll just say that. There are no such thing as words you can't translate from English to Korean. Without context, sure, but then there's just as many going back from English to Korean. But from Korean to English, there's no word that you're like, oh, you can't translate that in English. That doesn't exist. There's no such thing. We have all of it. It's just you have to put it into a sentence because sometimes the words will change their meaning based on how they're being used. Hey, Small. Really sounds like demons trying to come out today, Billy. Anything you want to tell us? Nope. Welcome. Welcome to my Korean lesson. Okay. Let's see what everyone has. Stars Jam, you were lying by calling this your first time job. I like you put in calling this. I like you put that in. I've heard from Koreans that Koreans who don't know how to teach Korean. Yeah, sure. I mean, I could tell you that English is impossible to learn too, but it's not true. Oh, English, we say I am, but then in past tense, it's I was, and you were, and he was, and they were, and I will be. It's not hard though for people learning English. You just memorize them and practice them. So yeah, there is no such thing as words that don't translate between Korean and English. There are none. Trust me, there are none. There are words that if you say, what is this? How does this word define in English? And you have to write it down, just the word. Oh, there are tons of those from English and Korean because depending on the situation, saying, W-I-N-D could be wind, it could be wind. You could say, don't get winded up. You could say you wound up doing something, right? Like in past tense, or wind is blowing, or like there's a I've got my second wind. I'm just trying to think of these off the top of my head. Like I just picked one random word and there are so many different uses for it. So does that mean wind is hard to translate to Korean? Sure, but within a sentence, no. It's just like that. 눈치 is a word that has many uses in different sentences, but in all of them, you just, okay, what sentence? Give me a sentence. Okay, yeah, it's this. What sentence? Okay, it means that. Yeah, it's not really, no. Isn't your first time driving? It's a lie, you're driving for the first. Okay, I think you're actually kind of getting it. Let's talk about it a little bit. Okay, so 운전, driving, 처음, first time, 처음이다. So it is your first time. So 처음이라는 것은. So you can think of it in a couple ways. You can think of this as like the thing that is your first time driving. So 운전이 처음이다 literally is this is my first time driving. 저 운전이 처음이에요. It's my first time driving. Literally, driving is my first. Driving, it's my first time. So 거짓말이죠. It's a lie. It's your first time driving. You can think of it like that in a quote. It's my first time driving in a quote. That's a lie, right? It's your first time driving. It's a lie that it's your first time driving, right? Okay, you can think of it like that. You can also think of it like this. The concept of your first time driving, it doesn't really work that way, so let's get rid of that. You can also think of it as like, wait. Remember, I said that this form is quoting. So, literally, 이라고 하는 건. Let's look at it like this first, and then I'm going to show you an even better way to translate it. 운전이 처음이라고 하는 것은 거짓말이죠. So you're lying when so saying that it's your first time driving. Saying that it's your first time driving. Saying that, right? It's a quote. It's a lie, right? So you saying it's your first time driving is a lie, right? There you go. Very good. You've got a nice translation for it, and it literally means that. But that's not a natural way to translate it. And there's a faster way you can translate this sort of stuff. But literally, yes. If you got that, pat yourself on the back. That works. 운전이 처음이라는 건 거짓말이죠. Oh, I got a donation. Liz. Liz R. Lizzer. I'm in lesson 34. Particle uy of your beginner. Of course. I swear that's how I used to say it when I was like a new beginner. Because I couldn't pronounce uy. So I was like, uy, like that. Of your beginner course. I have a long way to go, but you make it fun. Thank you. Thank you, Liz, for your support. That's very nice of you. I'm going to do a, okay, here we go. The long patriotic dab. This one goes out to Liz. Okay. Thank you, Liz. Very appreciated. Okay. The fact that is another way you can translate 이라는 것. So it's just a natural translation because the fact that, what does the fact that mean in English? Well, it means you're assuming that it's true, right? The fact. It's a fact. In this sense, though, it really means the fact that someone said it's their first time driving, but that doesn't really matter. It'll still fit as a nice translation here. So the fact that, or even just that. So it's a lie that it's your first time driving, right? It's a lie, the fact that you said it's your first time driving. But the fact that, or even just that, will work really well as a natural way to translate this form. 운전이 처음이란 건 거짓말이죠. 운전이 처음이란 건 거짓말이죠. So it's a fact that you're saying it's your first time driving. So it's a lie that it's your first time driving, right? You're lying that it's your first time driving, right? You're lying that it's your first time driving. That. Okay. So how is this important? How is this useful then if we translate it as that? Like, is it really necessary? Right? Do we really need this translation? Yes. You do. You need it. Let me show you why. I love when a plan comes together. Okay. Why do you need it? Well, when would you ever say the expression in English, the fact that? Give me a sentence in English when you could say the fact that something. Not the fact that you haven't arrived yet means you don't care about coming to my birthday. Not like a sentence starting with the fact that. But give me the fact that doesn't start a sentence. Give me a sentence that has the fact that. Well, actually, you could start a sentence with that too. I take it back. Yeah, that would work fine too. Any sentence that has the fact that in it. Give me orange. Give me orange. Give me an example. I hate the fact that I'm not home right now. Wonderful, Robin. Keep going. Give me more. What was in that drink? Oh, no, nothing. Just stuff. It's actually very low caffeine, but it's okay. I hate the fact that you chose her over me. You're getting there. You're getting there. The fact that Billy is a good teacher, that's not a full sentence though, but I appreciate the effort. I don't like the fact that you always lie. Okay. Kaylin has a wonderful example. I can't believe the fact that you're not coming. That's amazing. High five. Right here. Too slow. I hate the fact that I can't learn Korean quicker. Okay. Awesome. You've got it. You've got it. If you can make a sentence with the fact that in English, you can use this form. But wait! There's something else you have to know. Okay, this is an extra note. What is this? One more time. It's this, right? What is this? This is the statement quoting form, right? But then what is this part? Ida. What if we change this to something else? What if we change it not from to be, not from the fact that someone is, but the fact that someone does, right? Well, you would have to change this verb, and that means you would get something different than this, right? You wouldn't get ira. Let's just take the example of hada. I know we have hada here too. Hada. Well, what would hada be with this quoting form? 한다고, right? So you could also get 한다는. I'm not going into this form for this lesson today because that would be a whole long list of more examples we'd have to cover. But it's the same thing. You can use other verbs with this form. Doesn't have to be ida. That's why this form is so gigantic. Because ira는 only encompasses one of its uses with one verb, ida, descriptive verb. But you could also use quoting form with any verb in Korean, descriptive verb and action verb. What if you wanted to say, the fact that you, not the fact that you are, but the fact that you did something. 했다. 했다는 것. The fact that you lied. 거짓말 했다는 거. 난 알고 있어. 난 알고 있어. Just for an example, you can use this with any verb you want. Now, we're not going to be going into that for this lesson again. I'm just kind of want to open your mind and show you the possibilities. Okay, we're only going to be looking at it with ida. I just kind of want you to keep it in mind that this form itself, the quoting form, the shortened quoting form with called, has that meaning of the fact that regardless of, or just that, regardless of which verb you're using it with. With ida, it is the fact that something is. ida, ira는 것. With other verbs, it's the fact that someone or something does. You could say the fact that someone is pretty. The fact that someone doesn't like him. The fact that anything. With this form. Literally, though, going back to the form, the fact that someone says they are. The fact that someone does. The fact that someone says that they do. Right? Like that. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's easier, though, just to think of this as the fact that. Because it will work. You can also help distinguish when you would use this form over another form if you keep that translation in the back of your mind. 나는 것 or 는 것. This form can be the fact that. Okay, so let's do an example. Oh, I got a donation. Jewel, I'm on lesson 7 of your Hangul on YouTube. Do you have any beginner worksheets I can download? Love your teaching methods and live class. First of all, Jewel, thank you. 5 dabs for your donation. Ow, that hurt. I do not have worksheets for the beginner course. They are self-contained. So everything you need is in those lessons. If you want to practice it, really the best thing you can do is just have a pen pal to practice with. I'm not going to try to sell you on any extra workbooks. Like, you don't even need these. I'll just say that. I know it's not good business, but you don't even need these because the books have already like some practice sections in it. These are just extra. My Korean Made Simple books have extra worksheets in them, like, workbook and then workbooks you can get. But the beginner course is just designed to be self-contained. So I would just say practice with a pen pal, practice with a Korean friend. Just say, hey, can I practice for like 5 minutes with you? That's probably going to be much better than any sort of worksheet I could provide for that, because the level is so low for that level so far, that the best thing you're going to do is really just practice making letters and asking someone if it looks okay. So that's what I recommend. Anyway, thank you. Okay, so let's do an example then. Okay, here 걸 is 것을. Okay. One common situation when you would use 이라는 것 to mean the fact that is with the verbs 알다, to know, or 모르다. But it could also be any other verb. For example, do you know the fact that? Or I don't know the fact that, right? Or I'm curious. Actually, I'm curious if the fact that... Actually, you could be curious about something. You wouldn't be curious the fact that. That wouldn't make any sense. Anyway, 그게 잘못이란 걸. So 잘못 is an error, a mistake. 잘못이란 걸. So 것을 왜 모를까? So why don't they know? We don't know who. Why doesn't someone know? Or why couldn't they know? Why wouldn't they know that it's a mistake? How could they not know the fact that it's a mistake? Or how could they not know that's a mistake? You don't have to translate the fact that, but just know that it's kind of there. It's something that's true. It's something that it's assumed to be true. So 잘못이란 걸 왜 모를까? 그게 잘못이란 걸 왜 모를까? So how could they not know? I guess that's a good translation. Yeah. How could they not know that's a mistake? Like, how could they not know that was a mistake? Right? I mean, how could they not have known? It's right there. Everyone knows it. Everyone says it. 잘못이라는 걸. So everyone's saying it. How could they not know it? Seriously. How could they? Okay. No, one more sentence. Well, let me double check really quick to see if this is actually an acceptable. Oops, I dropped my pen too. Of course. Ugh. Okay, look at the sentence for a second. 저 배우의 나이가 50이라는 게 믿어져요? So 배우 is actor or actress. 나이, age, 50, 50 years old. 이라는 게 is 것이. So is the fact that that actor's age is 50 믿어져요? Is it believable? Do you really believe? Can you believe? that actor's not that can you believe that actor's age is 50? Can you believe that actor is 50 years old? Like that. 저 배우의 나이가 50이라는 게 믿어져요? 저 배우의 나이가 50이라는 게 so literally they say their age is 50 or everyone says. You don't know who, just someone says. So it's the fact that, as in the fact that everyone assumes that's correct. That's right. 믿어져요? So do you believe or can you believe? Is it believable that actor's age is 50? Can you believe that actor's 50? Okay. Again, can you believe the fact that that actress's age or actor's age is 50? I can believe it. 저 배우의 나이가 50이라는 게 믿어져요? Can you believe that actor's age is 50? Can you believe it? Okay. Again, the fact that, and again, keep in mind, this is the verb 이다. It could be any other verb. You could say, let's do this. This is just a garbage sentence I'm making right now. Okay, 저 배우가 돌아가셨다는 게 믿어져요? I just made this sentence as garbage. Don't write it down, please. But I want to show you as an example. That actor, 돌아가시다, to die, passed away. 돌아가셨다는 게. So here it's 단. You can also shorten 이란. You can shorten any other quoting form too. To just the nian. And I got a donation. Gianna. A Gianna C. A Gianna. Oh wow, $20. Thank you so much. Let's do a oh wait, not the flag. Kimchi. Okay. I think the music stopped like 5 seconds ago and I just keep going. Oops. Okay. Thank you. It's very kind. Okay. So I just wanted to show you that you can use this form since it's the same form. You can use it with other verbs. So here it's not 이다 to be, but it's 돌아가시다 in past tense. 돌아가셨다는 돌아가셨다라는 것. So the fact that people are saying that actor died. But you can just shorten it again. The fact that actor died. Can you believe that actor died? Like that. Like, did it really happen? Like, you know, I remember when Michael Jackson passed away and people were like, I heard he's faked his own death. You know, like there's stuff like that. It's like, what? And people still believe, what is it? Paul McCartney died? Like, anyway, yeah, it's like that kind of thing. Can you believe it? Okay, hopefully this clarifies the meaning of 이라는, and I hope that you understand it has a lot of uses beyond simply called, right? You can see now it has a lot of uses besides just saying named or called or whatever like that. Okay, if you need a pro tip, a tip from the pros about how to use this form, remember, the one thing I can tell you, keep this in mind. If you remember the quotes will not betray you because you can think of it like this. You see this 라는 게, or, you know, 라는 것, or 타는 것, any sort of 것 like that with this 는 before it. 는 것. You're like, oh, what does it mean? Can you believe that actor died? Okay, now you've got it. At least you've got the sentence. Even if you can't make it, you've at least understood it, right? Yes. Yes. It will not lead you astray. Trust in the quotes. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Okay, that is the lesson for today. Again, this is the last, I have a few announcements, so please stick around for just a couple minutes. This is the last live stream until November 28th. Last live class, I'll say. I'm going to Korea after 2 weeks. I'll be there for 3 weeks. So the next live class will be the 28th of November. while I'm in Korea, I will try to do a live stream, but it won't be a class. I'll try to do just a Q&A. Maybe we'll take a walk somewhere like last time. I don't know. We'll do something. And oh yes, so again, with announcements, if you are a Patreon member or a YouTube member, please fill out the survey. This is your last week to do that. If you fill out that survey, the survey's free. If you're a paid supporter, you know, Patreon or YouTube, if you're a paid supporter, you can put your name into the special thanks section of both of my new workbooks, which are releasing next week. Hopefully they release next week. I don't want to curse anything. Hopefully everything goes smoothly. So far it's going well. I'm hoping I can release these sometime next week. The target is Wednesday next week. We'll see. Not 3 days from now Wednesday, but then the week after that Wednesday. So yeah, you'll get your names permanently in this book, but this is your last week to do that. I'm closing the survey this Saturday. So get your names in there. If you have your names in there right now, they will always be in there forever, enshrined in the books. Yeah. And this is not the actual finished book. This is my proof. That's why it has all my notes with fixing typos and stuff. Mostly it's just like I forgot to add a period, or this one I put the number wrong. Stuff like that. There's a lot of that. Anyway, I'm going to stick around for about 10 minutes and answer some questions. But if you don't have any questions or you don't want to stick around, that's the end of the lesson. Thank you for coming. I had a fun time. And I got to go to Korea soon. Okay. Let's check to see what everyone's saying here. Undong Park. I'm here late, but before y'all finish, I'm still back near the beginning. Okay, wanted to say I'm so very pleased Billy's covering this grammar. Nice. Hey, thanks for coming. Ibreka says November 28th is my birthday. Well, happy birthday in advance, in case I don't see you then. Avion Siosavi Paris. My first live class. I came for the Korean, but stayed for the Billy Dabs. Yes, live stream from Korea. Yeah, and Selmnida. I'll try to do one. Sapphire says, I haven't been to Korea since 2017. That's very sad. Get yourself to Korea. You can get a ticket right now. Oh wait, actually, you'd have to stick. You wouldn't be able to enjoy the trip yet. Wait a little bit until they ease restrictions. Then it'll be better. For me though, I can go there. I'm fine. Small. Oh yeah, not related, but when I look up shotsu and why shotsu, the same thing comes up. So is shotsu like an umbrella term for all shirts? Yes. That's the easy answer. 믿어지다 is it is a passive form. Yes. 일하는 것 will be ever I can't talk. 한국어 will 일하는 것 ever be considered condescending? Well, if you're saying something that clearly they know, that's not a conceptual topic. It's not like love or happiness or peace. It's just like, for example, if you were to ask a Korean person if they like 김치라는 음식을 들어본 적 있어요? Have you ever heard of kimchi before? Like, yeah, they're gonna like laugh in your face. They're gonna think you're joking. So could be. Other than that, they'll just think your Korean's terrible. So I don't know. Really, in the end, you get laughed at either way. So yeah, careful when you're using it. Let's see. I'm going to post on the KeyCat fan account. Any caption recommendations? I got none. Oh yeah, send me a DM on Discord if you operate the Billy KeyCat fan account on Instagram. I can try to work with you, send you some photos. I just don't know what sort of stuff you want. I could try to take some photos either while I'm here or when I'm in Korea and get those to you to promote for the channel. Oh, Hanmi! Thank you, Hanmi. Very nice. And anyone who didn't hear, I'm going to Korea in 2 weeks. So that's what we're talking about. Hanmi. Hanmi. You got that extra E. Or is it Hanmai? Thank you, Hanmi. Let's do some dabs. Okay. Let's see what else people are saying. Sapphire, well, Koreans say it in English all the time. Do you know kimchi? Yeah, the reason they're asking you that, yes, the reason they're asking you is because they think you might not have tried kimchi. Because believe it or not, the majority of people who are traveling in Korea are doing it just for tourism, and they don't speak a lick of Korean. So it is a little funny that they would ask you, though, if you know the most popular dish. It would be like if you went to Germany and someone was like, yeah, do you know sauerkraut? Be like, I mean, like literally, yes. Like, who doesn't? Or if you went to New York and someone was like, hey, do you know I don't know how New York people talk. How do New York people talk? Oh, I'm walking here. I'm walking. Do you know bagels? Do you know bagels and cream cheese? It's like, yeah, it is a little funny. They're asking you like what everyone would know. Do you know pizza? Right? Yeah, but you'll still hear it sometimes. They're not trying to be condescending. They just really don't. They're just really curious about you. So just answer them with a smile. Be like, of course, I love kimchi. I eat it for breakfast. I have it. I dehydrate it and I pour milk and I add sugar and I eat it as cereal. I put it in my shakes before I go for workouts. I mix it in with my vanilla ice cream and, have it for dessert. All I eat is kimchi, then see what they say. Okay. KiKat fandom name. There is no KiKat fandom name. There is a Gobilly Korean fandom name, which is the Gobilly Goats. We don't use it too much, but it's there. And if you join my membership, the new channel members get I think it's the new channel or the 2-month membership. They get the goat as their icon next to them. And we made that back in 2018. So it's before the term GOAT became popular on the internet. So we were first. We were the first goats. We need a super compilation of all Billy's act. Yeah, good luck editing that. I don't even know where or which ones I've done. Let's see. Sapphire says, Paris and any other country besides Korea, they usually surprised and a little bit impressed. In Korea, they'll think you can speak the whole language. 미티 says, 제가 한국말을 안다는 건 아무도 K-pop 노래를 이해한다는 뜻이 아니에요. 아무 K-pop 노래를 이해한다는 뜻이 아니에요. Doesn't mean I understand it. You would want to use 아무 with 도, but good sentence otherwise. Sapphire says that New York accent was bad. What are you talking about? My New York accent's perfect. What are you trying to say? That I can't speak like a New Yorker? I take personal offense to that, I don't know. Actually, my mom's side, my whole mom's side of the family, up until my grandmother were born in New York. I've been there, I visited there like once. My mom talks like a New Yorker when she wants to. She still has it. And my grandmother is 100% New Yorker, but I can't imitate them at all. I can't do it. Despite, growing up around them, I can't imitate their accent. My grandma actually specifically is from Staten Island. Like, gotta get your coffee, like that. But I can't talk like her though. I can just say coffee, but I can't actually talk like a New Yorker. So, yeah. It's not, Billy. It's so bad. It's just, okay, we'll agree to disagree, okay? The fact that you dislike my New York accent, I'm not going to accept that, okay? Billy, can you speak more French? No. I'm embarrassed to speak French because it's so bad, but I'll pull it out sometimes when I can say something in French. When it's like something I can talk about, I might bring up a little bit of French here and there, but say water. Unless you're talking about New York. Water. Hey, it's the water. I don't know how you say water. Is it water in New York? I think it's water in Britain, right? Like British English. Can I get a glass of water? Jess, Welcome, Jess. Our newest member, Jess. Jess. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the family. Make sure to get your name in the workbooks. Check out the link in my community tab, and you can find a survey to do that. Okay. Billy, I hope Italian is next on your list, because I think your Italian accent would be great. Elena De Matteo. If we... As soon as... I wasn't even thinking. As soon as I'm trying to do my fake Italian, like my hands just come up. The stereotype is just too strong. I tell you, the only Italian I know is from watching a Mario TV show when I was growing up as a young boy. Yeah, okay, that's it. We're no more accents now. I've offended too many people. I've already lost 100,000 subscribers in the last hour alone. All of them in New York and France. Water? Is that New York? New York accented for water is more like water. Water. Sounds like you're angry. Okay, Ishita Joshi. Any tips for beginner without a teacher? Yes, I had a whole live stream about tips. I wouldn't want to go into them now, though, because that would be doing it a disservice. I did a lot of tips for beginners. So check that out first, please. It's on my channel. How to Study Korean is the title of that live stream. Taiha Re. I'm sure that's how you say your name. Accent tip. Thank you. What accent do you want me to do? Taiha. Let's do a dab party. All these people wishing me well on my Korea trip. Feels pretty nice. Okay, thank you. Okay, just 2 more minutes and then I'm gonna turn off the stream. The ta part is less pronounced. Okay, water. Is that it? Is that how you say water in New York? Okay, I'm gonna go to New York. Just gonna get out of the cab. I'm gonna be like, water! And see who gives me a glass. Like, splash it in my face. They're gonna be like, get out of here! I'm walking here. I don't know. It's okay, I'm never going to New York again. I'm gonna be barred from entering there now. Ayakata says, what's the difference between 돼 and 돼요? No difference in meaning. 돼요 is slightly more written form. You might see that more in example sentences, in books, in articles, in writing. It has a slightly more formal feel, but both have the same meaning and same usage. 100% same thing. 돼 is a shortened version. Stars Gem, Go Billy Korean, more like Go Billy canceled. At least in New York, right? Though I don't know if I keep doing these accents, maybe a lot more places too. We'll see. Christian Schmidt says, "Do you know some more German than sauerkraut? Isn't it like Schmetterling, the word for butterfly? Strudel. Das. Da. I'm trying to think. Was ist das? I know the was ist das. Isn't the was ist das the name for like the window or something like that? Oh, hold on. Yeah, like a was ist das is that like kind of window thing. Yeah. Because I think it was like the Germans saw it and they're like, was ist das? What is this? If you say a German word, I can probably pronounce it in a terrible, horrible, stereotypical accent. Ivanov, do a Texas accent. The only thing I know about Texas is the stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. That's the best Texas accent I can do. I hope I didn't offend you. Like, water. Okay, I can't do it anyway. All right. Thank you everyone for coming. Now my hands hurt. They're like pulsating and red. Thanks for coming. And again, the next live stream will be on the 28th of November. I hope that I can see you all there. Take care. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.